Welcome, Mr. Reinhard. It's good to see you again. This is our third session. We have done two previously, and this is the third one, and I'm really excited to have this journey with you. We have been talking various topics, and today is another interesting day, another interesting topic, and we'll talk more about them. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you, and hello. It's nice meeting you.
Yeah, great to see you once again. And so, Reinhard is a very popular man. He's ex-president, ex-chairman of IPMA. So before the call, we were talking about how IPMA, and I'm kind of representing PMI. I have been working with PMI in various roles. So kind of we think you are building a bridge between IPMA and PMI. And if PMI people are watching, please, yes, this is just a, yeah.
I think we are all sharing the same passion. And that's
exactly.
Passion for project programs and portfolios, right?
Exactly. So this is about the passion we have. Reinhard has. He has been into project management for many years. He has done a lot of contribution to the project management community, and lovely to have him again and again and again. I like to see him again. I'm sure he'd love to come back. And yeah, so we have very interesting topic today, and it's kind of bringing, trying to break the myths around various concepts like project and program. What's the difference between project and program, project management, program management? And within the project, there are various categories: mega project, complex project, giga projects. So I think it will be a good discussion if we can talk about various topics here. So we'll talk about that. So the people who don't know me, my name is Dharam Singh, and I have been into teaching, mentoring, guiding project managers, program managers, portfolio managers since 2009, when I started my company called vCare Project Management. So I'm proud to say that I have now around 240 PgMPs from 44 countries, and 64 PfMPs, which is, and that's 100% result so far, right? Yeah, thank you for myself. No, I mean, look, yeah, the people are doing the hard work, and they go day in, day out, and I take the credit. It's not about that. Yeah, so the people are really putting their efforts, and they get the result. So I'm happy to be. I'm very honored to be part of their journey. So, I'm able to contribute from here and there. So yeah, talking with Reinhard, it is, we are bringing the topics from various various examples, we're thinking. So let's talk about the topic today. So as we have a topic, project versus program, because I'm talking from the people who want to do program management certification, and they come to me, Dharam, I am a project manager, but I'm running a mega project. I have a budget of $5 billion. But do you think I can be, I'm eligible for PgMP? And so, that's it is because the maturity of the organization. And previously, there was no term as program. They were only project and portfolio. But PMI realized that it is good to have another layer between project and portfolio. And the things like mega project, complex projects, and where we have multiple projects going on together, we can classify such work as a program.
Okay.
So that's where and I'd like to hear from you. What do you think?
Okay, let's start. I think the first session we talked about projects. What is a project? If you talk about project, you have a certain task, a certain team is working on it. You have a certain time limit, and at the end, it's also a transitional task. So you create something new or change something. So there's a certain complexity behind that. And actually, in the beginning of project management in the US, especially doing this defense and aerospace projects, they called it programs. And actually, the first standard was a program management standard by the Department of Defense. Later, it was several times relabeled and so on, because now, if you can imagine, those programs, they're very complex. And now, let's start a bit talking about complexity, because that's the driver of that thought. Certainly, the task itself can be very, very complex, because if you build a system compared to a, let's say, smaller product, then certainly you have a complexity in the whole system. Yeah. Maybe you have hardware stuff, you have software, combinations of those, and that's driving complexity. But complexity is not only on this, let's say, content side. When we talk about a team, if you have, let's say, a multinational team, hundreds of people working together over a long period of time, and you have suppliers, a long supply chain, like in automotive or aerospace, that's certainly a huge complexity to deal with. And now if you talk about transition, also this change that is happening, you have a lot of dynamics. You can go 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards, and then you have side steps and so on. And that's something that is really important in project management, to analyze the complexity and respond to it by leadership, by management, by all the tools and techniques that you utilize. I think that's a good starting point to then speak about mega projects and programs.
Exactly. So yeah, you touch very important point, the complexity. And in a project or even a program, the complexity can be because of many, many things. You know, one is the stakeholders' expectation, that changing stakeholders, governance structure we have, or maybe because of technology, the new technology you're bringing, that itself is the complexity. So these are different kind of complexity, which brings different challenges to the project managers, program managers. So I see the project manager who can navigate through these complexity while managing your resource and requirements, delivering the output while we have to deal with these complexity. I think that's a sign of a good project manager.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think my recommendation is always start to analyze the complexity, maybe use a complexity scale or a checklist where you check where you are, because that has certainly implication on the way you deal with it. In stakeholder management, for example, the content-wise, I'm a systems engineer, that you closely collaborate with systems architects or the technical side of people. Like systems engineering is a discipline where we collaborate between the technical side and project management as the organizational side to make something happen. And especially that was in the beginning in the United States, the discipline, systems engineering. So where, let's say, the systems engineers work together with project managers, which have the responsibility really to fulfill the deliverables in time, in the budget, to the specification that we are set out. So I think complexity matters. And now if we talk about major projects or mega projects, then it is just a label for a complexity. A mega project is defined by it's larger than $1 billion. That can be in the oil and gas. It can be a huge plant or infrastructure, or even if you look in automotive and the new car development, that's certainly a mega project based on the size or the volume you are doing. But still, at the end, you have a deliverable, you have your fixed timeline, you have a team working on it, etc., etc. So it still is a project independent of size. So that does not qualify it to be a program, which is something different, but I think we will discuss that.
Yeah. So mega project, as you said, that based on the amount, let's say it's $1 billion or more than that. So that mega project, and I think we also talked about Giga projects. So something which is $10 billion, something. I think lot of work happening in China or some of the United States. So some of the work, such as building the major roads or maybe big bridges, bigger hospital, airport. Some of them.
Whole cities, smart city development programs. Just it was announced that Toyota is building near Mount Fuji a totally new city as a smart city. It should be a prototype city. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely a Giga project. Or if you go to Saudi Arabia,
yep,
they have a new city totally building it from scratch. Neom, it is called, and I saw the architecture of it, and it's certainly also a Giga project because it encompasses so many, let's say, topics in itself. Climate neutral, total different mobility concepts, energy, etc., etc. It's huge.
Exactly. I mean, last year I was in Saudi Arabia. That was my first trip to Saudi, but last international trip, thanks to COVID. So people were talking, or they were excited about the smart city, and then again, I also looked into some of the videos, and it's a very new concept. The way they are bringing everything together, you don't need visa to go to that city. The wildest part of Saudi Arabia, there's not, and you have a Wi-Fi everywhere. People are driverless cars going everywhere. So that's a really good concept, and such project, to bring such projects together, you need to have very, a lot of thinking around, and because there are lots of moving parts. Yeah, exactly.
And it's sometimes also, and now talking about that, because it's the success of the king, who is the main sponsor for Neom, the new city. Yeah. It's the prince. So it means also that you, as a manager for such an endeavor, you need to speak to these kind of people. It's a lot of, let's say, politics. So complexity from a political point of view. Certainly you have a lot of legal issues, contractual, yeah, commercial, but it's also a very strategic endeavor. It means that you need to envision this, what is the strategy, the vision of that prince? And I think it takes 25 years to build such a city, to finalize it and so on. I'm not sure whether it will be anyway finalized, because that's then also a continuous process of adding this or that. But it means it's a very strategic endeavor. It means also from a project management perspective, you need to be capable of dealing with that strategic aspects.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so definitely this kind of work, you want to call mega project, giga projects, these are the huge things. So, and I think we should touch base the skills you need to handle such projects, and what are the key skills people should have. Maybe we can talk today, maybe we can bring in another topic to discuss how to deal with some of the complex mega giga projects. So I think let's keep this one for the next another session, and we'll talk about the skills part separately. So we'll continue with discussion around the definition about project and program. And my question to you, why can't we call these mega projects or giga projects as a program, as per PMI? PMI says that multiple interdependent projects, when you manage them, in a coordinated way, you get the benefit which were not available when you're managing them individually. So the work you're talking about, the smart city we talked about in Saudi Arabia, there are so many multiple pieces moving around, and there's an interdependency among them. Do you think that is a program? I think it's a program in the PMI point of view.
Yes, I agree. And I'm not arguing about the terminology, but from a character or the, let's say, requirements of that endeavor, I would call it a program. And I have told you that I was the chair of this ISO committee on ISO 21503 program management. Mm-hmm. And we had people from all areas coming together and defining what is a program. I think the commonalities of that definitions, PMI, IPMA, Axelos, and whatever, it is that a program is a composition of program components, which typically is projects, maybe also other work that is included in that.
Mm.
That through managing it as a combined endeavor, we'd like to have more synergies. So 1 + 1 is not 2, but it is 3. And this additional, let's say, benefit is what we really want to achieve in such a program. Not calling it a program, but also managing it as a program. And I think that's the big difference. Because also in Germany, we do mega projects, but fail to achieve what is the benefit of a program.
Yeah.
And now let me speak a bit about what else is a difference to a project. For me, a program spans much longer. So typically a program is about 10 years or more. So it's still temporary. So we say there's a certain time limit where you say now we stop and go to operations or we run it. But it also means that if it spans longer, it is more strategic. And it means you need to have a clear, let's say, vision for that program with a clear expectation towards the end result, which is not just a deliverable, let's say a bridge or so. And I will just bring an example. But it is the outcome, the long-term and strategic benefit. Why are we building that bridge? I think it's important. And let me just bring one example of a real example of South Korea. I was very much engaged in the Incheon bridge. It's a 23-kilometer bridge. I think the cost was 1.5 billion or so. Was pretty intensive project because at the end it was the bridge. But that bridge was just part of a bigger program because now the question is, where did this bridge end? And the bridge connected the mainland with an island. And on the island, there was nothing. It was just a desert or so. And the intention was to bring people to that island, to build business on that island. And it was another smart city on that island created. And now there are, I think, 50,000 people living.
Okay.
And I think several billion dollar business every year. And it was the example of a smart city in South Korea. So the project, the mega project, was just instrumental to build that island and develop it and make that, let's say, outcome, that long-term benefit available to the people of South Korea. And I think that's the bigger difference, just not on the numbers, but on we want to achieve something long-term, something strategic with benefits. And this is why I think it's worth to manage it as a program and not as a project.
Yeah, I just want to highlight to the people who are preparing for or thinking of doing PgMP as a program manager professional from PMI. Yes, while you are saying the very large, 5, 6 year, 10 years work, definitely there's a program. But many times you might find, the small piece of work, even the 6 months work, which has multiple components, and you have the interdependency among them, and they are bringing or giving you some benefit, realizing benefit. Such thing can also be called as a program. So, yes, the definition is they are, mega program or with a larger, very complex. Yes, all these are definitely, we can call them program, but at the same time, for the exam or for the application point of view, that's where these kind of thing where multiple work happening, coordination required among them because of the interdependency and the benefits. These can be also qualified for PgMP application. So just to be clear on that.
Absolutely, you can have, let's say, if you are in a product company, in Automotive, for example, you are doing seats or seat components. And if you deliver certain seat components to one of the automotive manufacturers, you can bundle and create synergies through bundling projects that are in this seat component area and create synergies. So you have benefits on the long run. Maybe you're using the same parts. You are using lessons learned between the 2 or 3 or 4 models of those projects. And I think that's all, let's say, rather a program than a project. I was just using the example of that mega things because I believe the synergies are much bigger, and I think certainly mega projects that are actually a program would fail if they are not managed as a program.
Exactly.
That's my key point.
Exactly.
What you mentioned, I think that's a key component of program management, so to analyze the interdependencies in that program and see how you can create those synergies out of these interdependencies and prevent risks to happen. Because that's often a huge issue in also mega project, that you have cluster risks within that big endeavor, and you have interface risks exactly in the interfaces between the one project and the other, or component from the other. So dependency management is something really important.
Exactly. I mean, when we do go through some curriculum or for the PgMP, we do talk about the governance, how the overall governance is going to work within the program, especially when, because we have so many moving parts and multiple interdependencies, and we have to ensure that benefits, what you said you're going to deliver, all things. There is a governance structure required, where roles and responsibilities are clearly identified. Who has what, when, what we will do when this kind of change, that kind of change, risk, who has what level of authority. So all these things has to be clearly identified in your governance plan. So that's, things we have to think about, and things like, stakeholder engagement, which is very, very important, especially when you're doing such a mega work. You have different type of stakeholder involved in this. What you said, the Korean project you talked about, where people are impacted, their businesses are impacted, the governance and media is asking you so many questions, and there are so much scrutiny happening within that. So how you're going to engage with different type of stakeholder at different time. That's where you have to have a stakeholder engagement plan, and this document can be very, very detailed document. Some simple program, you may not need it, but when we have, people, let's say in this program, people are involved, they're impacted negatively, positively, how are we going to engage with them? But town hall session we had organized, the newspaper ad, TV advertisements, so many things that need to be identified. We need to structure, we need to plan them.
Absolutely, and especially we did a comparison between a bridge, this Incheon bridge in Korea, and a bridge in Shanghai in China. And in China, they did not consider the toll, the amount that you need to pay to cross that bridge, as important issue. But it is important because if it's too expensive, people won't use that bridge. And so you have a nice bridge, but nobody is using it, and you do not achieve your, let's say, strategic intent. And so they need to then later reduce the toll for the people to really utilize that. And also advertisement, as you said, TV, that's a very important part, because if you want to move residents to such an area, certainly you need to communicate, you need to engage TV stations and make a story around it, share that vision, etc. So I think that's very much important to put all these small pieces in that puzzle together to get the really success of that program.
Yeah. So one thing you touched about when you said the bridge in Shanghai, when they're starting, they didn't think about, or they were not thinking about the toll. Yeah, that may be just because they wanted to give the benefit to their citizens. They don't want to charge for that because they have probably a lot of money. Or that can be as part of the strategy. Let them use it. Use it for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years before we start talking about anything like toll. Yes, we need money investment for such a work, but let them get used to of that. Then we start introducing toll with small amount. One, we are not not we're still making a little bit money, so gradually get back. So benefit can be a little less in the early days, but and over a period of time, the benefit we should be more than the cost. So yeah, so the bridge can have a toll to start after, let's say, 6 months, where 50 cents, and then you can have another 6 months, $1. You may find some people not coming because for them $1 is too much. But some people, what, this is a convenience and such a beautiful road, and I'm saving a lot of time. I don't mind $1. Then they go to $2, $3. That up to a limit.
Yeah, and I think that touches on a very important point because, the iron triangle is such an iron law in project management, and everybody tries to stay in time and in budget and so on. But if you now think from a more strategic point of view, if you have a delay or let's say a cost overrun in one of the projects, but that are key to the success of the whole program, I think it does not matter really whether you're in time or in budget in that project. If it is helping the whole business case or the whole strategy to materialize. And I think that's a consideration someone from a higher perspective needs to emphasize. And this is why a program manager is typically somebody really very high up in the ranks with a lot of experience, with a strategic, let's say, perspective, and not someone that is, let's say, caught in this iron triangle, kind of iron cage.
Exactly. Yeah. If you just focus, many projects you need to stay within the budget, within the scope, within the time. And that's where one of the important differences, yes, project talks about these 3 constraints and quality as well, but program do talk about them, but more focus on the benefits, strategy alignment. We may end up spending more money or delay a little bit here and there, but as long as we are getting the benefit for the organization will be happy with that. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we are the benefits.
If you look into certain opera houses, and we have one here in Hamburg, which was from a project perspective a totally failure because it was planned to have 80 million euro as a budget, and it ended up with 800, so 10 times. But on the other hand, it's like the Sydney Opera. Sydney Opera was, I think, 20 times more costly. But everyone recognizes that as an iconic building. Millions of people are visiting it. So if you speak about Sydney, everybody knows that's Sydney Opera and so on. So it doesn't matter whether this is 10 times or 20 times the cost of this building, because it pays off on the long run of this, let's say, the payback on image or tourism or whatever it is.
Exactly. And actually you reminded me my Sydney days, and I've spent 22 years in Sydney. So yeah, I can clearly see Opera House, and yeah, the purpose of that Opera House, to have a concert or something. Yes, they're still happening. They're making money, but the more money is coming from the tourist. People come to go to Sydney, not just to, they're going to go to Opera House to look at the Harbour Bridge from there and go in the ferries. But yes, Opera House is an icon. It's when they build, I think they will start building in 1921. They never thought it's going to be like that, but end up, you said, sometimes benefit. You may not, you may start a program with a particular benefit in mind, but you end up having something else, extra benefit, which you never thought about. Actually, that's bringing the second point to me. Yes, when we start a program, we have a thought, yes, we're going to get this, we're going to have a big, beautiful concert, but now we have an icon. But at the same time, we have to think about the negative benefits. When we do a mega project or any project or program where you're going to bring benefit to the organization, to the people, but at the same time, it can be impacting negatively to some of the communities, some of the people working in that department. So that's also very important and that is generally for a good focus in the program level.
Yeah, I think there's a good example right now going on. I do not have all the detailed information, but now if you look into the Soccer World Championship in Qatar, Even our team, they are close to a boycott of that world championship. And for Germans, soccer is the world. Because all this infrastructure was built with a lot of death casualties on the on this area, and let's say close to slavery conditions, and that's not acceptable in this world. So you may have now an iconic building, or you have a good event, but if it's built on, let's say, the shoulders of those people, those workers, maybe also from countries that just need the money and cannot care for themselves, then that is not acceptable. This is why also governance, you mentioned that. I think the standards for programs and mega project on governance, on work safety, environmental protection, all these 17 United Nations sustainability goals need to be implemented. I think that's very key, and so that should be a very high standard in program management and also mega projects to stick to those international standards.
Exactly. So it's all about ethics and what else it can bring, to the environment. Let's see, if you're setting up a chemical factory, and if you do not care about, yes, I'm caring about making millions of billions of dollars by having good chemical, but what about the environment, your water, your soil getting polluted by having this byproduct of yours? So that's where the ethics come in picture. The organization has to be careful about not only current impact, but the future impact, the future generation getting impacted. If you somehow put that toxic into the soil, and even 10 years from or 100 years from now, people are, taking birth with some childhood problems by itself, not childhood, like a body, they may not have one limb, one leg. So we need to think long term. So that is where the program come in picture. Is what, guys, you have thought about the benefit and disbenefit or negative benefit, and not only now, but the future as well.
Absolutely. And this comes to the question you had previously about the competences. So certainly, again, mega projects or huge programs, people need to have this strategic vision. They need to have this long-term vision. And that means also they need to look far beyond of a project delivery, far beyond the product, the end product of the project, and see the impact that it's having on society, on environment, but also on the organization they are working for. And this is very crucial. Besides all the, let's say, methods and tools and techniques that we may use in program management.
Yeah.
And also basically it's about communication.
Yeah.
I said it last time. Now the level of people you talk to is very different. You may even talk to ministers or politicians of higher ranks. You have certainly to do with financial partners in those mega projects and programs. You have to speak with your CEO or the big bosses, top management in your organization. And you certainly negotiate with a lot of huge suppliers. It's not a small supplier, but mega companies. And that's the eye level you are speaking to. So you will not be so deep into methodology and tools and techniques. I think that's where some other people are involved in doing that. But you are, let's say, the entrepreneur, the CEO of that program. That's a kind of personality, right?
Yeah, and that's where the leadership style, leadership skills are very, very important. How you take whole organization, so more than organization with thousands of people working with you and taking towards the direction, vision of the organization and get the result as expected. And when we talk about mega project program, you have to, as 5 year, 10 year, it will going to take a long time. So you need to have vision to that, the end goal, and making sure that vision is not only for you, but to the organization, the people, the management, they all see the same vision. And they are motivated, they're excited to work on this kind of program because they are contributing a little bit. They think that maybe a little bit, but eventually the whole thing come together as a big mega city or a smart city or a big bridge, toll road, whatever you want to call. That's what we have to, as the leaders, we have to demonstrate, yes, there's a vision, this is where the end goal look like, and your contribution is not small, everybody is contributing, and that is where we are going to be in future.
Absolutely, it's like a conductor of a huge orchestra or symphony orchestra, where it's very important to integrate all those people, to also have this, let's say, empathic touch, so that they feel, okay, they are working on something important. It's not just I'm doing my work, but that they really feel it's like building the new Taj Mahal or something great. And that also, brings all the motivation to the table, and people will work totally different than if they just follow orders or
exactly,
advice, right?
Exactly. No, that's a great discussion. Thank you very much once again. And I think that's a good topic. And many people always look for differences and commonalities. Why project? Why program? And another thing we all know that maturity of organization also dictate that will tell you whether this is a project program. You know, it may be a program, but because of lack of education or understanding, people still call them a project. So as a program manager or going for PgMP or some other certification, you need to take guidance. People who are doing it, this is the learning. And can I mature my organization? Can I add some value to my PMO, program management office, project management office, and get the work done with the focus on benefit, focus on stakeholder engagement, having the right governance around you, and get the results one after other, and make sure the risks are identified and controlled and delivered, programs without any managing the risk the most efficiently. Yeah, so once again, thank you very much. It was a good discussion.
Okay, maybe you can provide feedback, and so we can continue the discussion offline, right? Yeah, so I will request people who are watching, please come back to us if you liked it or not liked it, and any other topic you'd like us to discuss. And if you feel that we can help you with one way or other, please reach out to us. And we are available on LinkedIn, or there are some information provided on the video as well. So please reach out to us. Any certification needs or if you want to run mega programs or projects, we'll help you with that. So thank you, and looking forward to have another discussion very, very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.